Hello and happy Friday the 13th. I've known for a minute that I was going to do a video on this infamous video game. For one, Friday the 13th is one of my absolute favorite horror franchises. In fact, in the world of slashers, Friday the 13th is my favorite. Two, I've been making Friday the 13th masks for some of my coworkers lately, so the series has been directly in my mind. So between those facts and the fact that it is in fact Spooky Month, I knew that it was time to finally do a video on the infamous NES Friday the 13th video game. The Friday the 13th game was made by LJN Toys, produced by them. It was made by Atlas. Atlas Studios are the same people that brought us the Persona series, so that's a weird connection. LJN was a toy company that was really interested in getting into the video game world. They're the same people that are responsible for the Nightmare on Elm Street game, the Karate Kid game, the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure game, but I can't knock them too much because they also gave us a lot of the early X-Men and Spider-Man arcades, and those were pretty good. That said, this game is not always that good. It's pretty infamous for how bad it is. It is well remembered, actually, for how kind of rough it is. I believe Game Informer called it one of the worst horror games ever. I know it was number 6 in Nintendo Power's top 100 worst games of all time. Yeah, it's not well remembered for being a good game. That said, I kind of agree with Joystick. They said that it was their top game that they love to hate, and that's sort of how I feel about the game. I could be biased. I'm clearly a big fan of the J-Man, but the thing is that it's a bad game, but that's what makes it fun. Some of the things that a lot of people remember and stick out in this game are that the controls are a little bit janky. They don't always work quite like they're supposed to. The life that you lose is really quick versus like Jason. When you bump into him, it's not so quick. But at the same time, the hardness is often cited as being on purpose to make it more like trying to survive one of those movies. And in that, yeah, I get it. That kind of makes sense because it's super hard to live through this fucking game. So the gameplay is pretty simple. You choose between one of 6 camp counselors. You have the majority of Camp Crystal Lake to walk through. You have to go through each individual cabin to try to find fireplaces and light them. All the while, you are supposed to be keeping an eye out for Jason. Some of the things that are added to this game to make it more interesting are crows that will swoop down and attack you, as well as zombies that just crawl out of the ground. If you are rowing a boat on the lake, you'll also get weird lake monsters that just jump up. They look like creatures of the Black Lagoon, but I think they're still supposed to be zombies, just like, I don't know, water zombies? If you go into the forest or in the cave, be ready to be completely lost because there's no map in those areas. But you'll also be attacked by wolves, so that's special. That said, all of the enemies are nothing compared to when Jason shows up. And yes, that teal and purple guy, that's Jason. Jason is in a purple jumpsuit with a teal mask and teal gloves. He's the brightest that the character's ever been, for certain. There are a lot of theories as to why he looks like this in the game. The most popular one is that the company Atlas didn't really have any references as to what he looked like. I believe there's even a promotional poster from Japan floating around where he does look like that. Honestly, it could just be a design choice. They could have just chose purple and teal because they thought it looked cool. Another big theory is that it helps him stand out against the backgrounds, which is fair, but at the same time, I feel like it's most likely they either didn't know or they did it on purpose because they thought it looked neat. And I know that some people hate it, but like, I think it's kind of cool. I think the purple and teal sort of became iconic in its own right. So really, the look itself, I don't hate it. I think it's dope. The game itself is not dope, but that's what makes it fun. When it comes to bad games, there are games that are a slog, there are games that are completely unplayable, and there are ones that are hard, but it makes it more enjoyable, and I think this one falls in those categories. This is a game where you will die a lot. So your main way to fight back in this game is to throw rocks, mostly, and the rocks don't work super well. They're real bad. It's not fun. But it is fun. If you are standing up and you throw the rocks, they will often lob over your enemies' heads, that sucks. If you crouch down, though, you will throw the rocks forward. So, duck and throw is the best that I can come up with. If you kill enough enemies, you will be rewarded with a knife. You really need the knife. The knife does a lot more damage, and it just throws forward. If you run into Jason and you don't have the knife, get ready to get your ass kicked repeatedly. One thing that commonly happens is a little dot will flash either next to the counselors or next to the children. Yes, there are children in Camp Crystal Lake in this game. That's something that doesn't usually happen.
I think we're dead meat.
Along with this dot, you'll also get a fairly annoying alarm, and that is your notice that Jason is attacking. Jason will either be at one of the cabins that the counselors are in, or he'll be at one of the cabins that the children are in.
Real dead meat.
You have to look and see which of the two the dot is next to. That indicates where you need to go. Open up your map, you'll see a flashing area, and that's the cabin that Jason's at. You need to go to that cabin and look around and find Jason and then fight him, which is rough.
What were you gonna be when you grew up?
If you find him in the cabin, you get kind of a punch-out style fight, which is interesting, but it's at least semi-winnable. If you leave the house without looking for Jason, he'll attack you outside of it, and that is much, much less winnable, especially if you have the rocks. If Jason kills you and you go to another counselor, then wherever he was attacking, he will still be attacking, so you need to try to get to that area again. If he kills the counselor in the area, if the timer runs out before you get there, or if you are that counselor and you're being attacked, then the attack is over. So that's an easy way to get out of it, I guess. I have done survival douchebag playthroughs where I just ignore the flashing warning sign and try to get the goals done. And that works to an extent, but then eventually you're out of people and he just comes and gets you. If you are the last survivor, Jason doesn't bother going anywhere, he just will find you wherever you're at on the map and kick your ass. Also, if Jason is actively attacking the children, you have to get onto a boat and go through the lake to get to the cabins that the children are in. What sucks about that is that even though Jason is supposedly actively attacking the 15 campers, he will just swim through the lake and beat your ass. Like, there's no way to avoid him. He just Olympic swims through your boat. It really kind of blows. Honestly, having a regular pace on the water and not getting hit by the crows and the fucking creature of the Black Lagoon is almost impossible. But damn it, despite all of the jank, I kind of dig this game. It's fun. I've never gotten past a single day. The way to win the game, you have to knock down all of Jason's HP. If you do that, you move on to the next day. Whoever is still alive is alive the next day, and that's it. You have to do that 3 times. You have to beat Jason 3 times to beat this game. You can find, little medicine bottles that'll up some of your HP. They're not super common. There are also other weapons. There's a machete, there's a pitchfork, I believe there's like an axe maybe? I could be wrong there. I've never got any of those weapons. I've gotten the knife and died. That's all I ever get. There's also a secret mini-boss if you go through the cave and you manage to not just fucking fall down the holes all the time like an idiot. Eventually you'll find a locked room. If you have a key, you can open that room and you'll fight Jason's zombie mom. I've never actually gotten to Jason's zombie mom, but apparently if you beat her on certain days, you'll receive certain items. If you beat her on the second day, you'll get, I believe, her sweater, which lowers, your damage taken. It works like armor. Don't ask me how an old dead lady's sweater is gonna save you from any kind of damage, but whatever. There's a number of different ways to play the game, a number of strategies and different things you can do on different survival days that will cause different items to appear. None of that is told through the game. So if you want to know any of that, you either need to find the booklet or go to its wiki page, because the wiki page has a lot of information. Also, apparently the counselors have stats. I don't remember what the stats are because, again, that's not in the game. It doesn't really matter. What stats they have are almost like negligible because they're all gonna die. You're all gonna die. You and your friends are dead. Game over. You're gonna see that image a lot.
It's got a death curse.
That said, you know, if you're looking to just kill some time, like, you know, a few minutes or hours if you're good at it, I think it's not a bad game to play. It's pretty fun. It's old, it's janky, it's certainly not perfect, but I think that's part of the charm. I don't hate it. I'm really bad at it. Like, I am absolute garbage at this game. But it's kind of fun. And yeah, maybe I'm biased. I do really like these movies. They're dumb fun just like this game. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I like this game. I don't really play Souls games, so I don't play a lot of games where you just die and die and die, unless you count like old Mario games. Maybe I'm just a video game masochist and I wasn't aware. I don't know. Also, if I sound a little extra nasally in this video, I know I usually have some sinus issues because of all of my allergies. The weather has finally changed here in Missouri and my sinuses are pissed. So, yeah, it's great. One thing that I kind of enjoy in this game is that it has an actual day to night cycle. It only cycles that once until you kill Jason, but when it does cycle, there's a noticeable change. Not just because it's darker, but also the zombies that spawn outside are spawning at a much faster rate. So a good strat in this game is to try to find as many fireplaces as you can during the day. The fireplaces are always found in the really big cabins too, so if it's a small cabin, avoid it. Unless Jason's attacking. If Jason's attacking, go into those small cabins, because when you're in a small cabin, you can hit start and switch to any of the other counselors. One thing I've been doing a lot of recently in playthroughs is switching to the counselor that Jason's at the cabin of. If Jason's attacking the children, just choose the counselor that's closest to the lake. Another good strategy is find a counselor, put them in one of the cabins that's closest to the lake, and then switch to one to go around and light all the fireplaces. The thing is, you need to light all of the fireplaces with a single counselor. If the counselor you're lighting the fireplaces with dies, you have to start over on the fireplace lighting. The second that counselor's dead, you're done with them. Those fireplaces went out. You have to do that all again. A good plan is to try to get the lighter with as many of the counselors as you can so that you can keep this up. Another thing that the game doesn't tell you, you can actually swap items between the counselors, but you have to pass them to them. There's a pass button when you're in a room with another counselor. I haven't bothered using this because I don't usually live long enough to really have a lot of items other than maybe the knife or the lighter. I don't know if you can pass the lighter. I believe you can pass the knife though. I think next time that I have a character with the knife that's about to die, I'm gonna just go find the first counselor I can bump into and give them the knife, if I can live long enough to get to that counselor. But overall, despite its hardness, despite its janky controls, despite everything, I do have a lot of fun playing this game. I think it really is worth trying, if nothing else, just to kind of see where the company that brought us Persona really started. This wasn't its first game by any means, but like the fact that the Persona guys brought us this, kind of wild. It's also just an interesting piece of video game history. A lot of these NES games, I think, are just an interesting look into the past and to see what video games used to be. And that alone, I think, is worth a playthrough. Either way, though, it is Friday the 13th, so if you all will excuse me, I've got some movies to watch. See ya.